from March last year, everybody was working home, working from home. But ladies are working home.
Hello. Good evening.
Hello.
Ram, you are audible.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Ram.
இன்னொரு 2 நிமிஷம் டைம் கொடுப்போம் பாக்கில ஜாயின் பண்றதுக்கு.
Hey, Royesh.
Okay.
Hey. No hurry.
Had your coffee, Ram? Ram, had your coffee?
நீ வலசர்வாக்கத்துல எங்க இருக்கு?
வலசர்வாக்கத்துல அந்த சிவன் கோயில் பக்கத்துல இருக்கு.
ஓ, அச்சா அச்சா.
ருக்மிணி என்னாச்சு? ஹலோ. Hello.
Yeah.
Rukmini, I think, is having some technical difficulties, and I'm trying to reach her to find out what she needed. Rukmini, enna ungala voice கேட்க மாட்டேங்குது.
வரல.
என்னமா? ஹலோ.
ஹலோ.
வாய்ஸ் கேக்குறதுமா? உங்களோட வீடியோ ஆள காணோம். பேச்சு வரும் முன்னே ஆளு வரும் பின்னே மாதிரி.
வாய்ஸ் நல்லா ஸ்வீட்டா கேக்குறது.
ஆமா. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கிளாஸ் வந்துடுது. உங்களோட வாய்ஸ் மியூட்ல இருக்கு ருக்மிணி.
இங்க விக்னேஷ் எல்லாம் ஜாயின் பண்ணலையா?
தான் வந்தாச்சு. விக்னேஷ் கட்டல், விக்னேஷ் வந்தாச்சு. ருக்மிணி உங்களோட வாய்ஸ் கேக்குறது?
வாய்ஸ் தான் கேக்குறதா?
வாய்ஸும் கேக்குறது, வீடியோவும் தெரியுது. கொஞ்சம் நின்னு வருது, பட் தட் இஸ் ஃபைன்.
வீடியோ வரலையா?
வீடியோ வந்திருக்கு. எல்லாம் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கிளாஸா இருக்கு.
என்னோட போனில் தான் பார்க்க வேண்டியிருக்கு. என்ன ஐபேட் சரியில்லைன்னு நான் பேரன். ஐபேட்.
ஓ, ஓகே. இல்ல நோ ப்ராப்ளம்.
இங்க ஆத்திரல் நான் மட்டும்தான் இருக்கேன். அனு போயிருக்கா. அனு அவ அப்பா அம்மாவுக்கு போயிருக்கப்பா நெக்ஸ்ட் ஸ்ட்ரீட்ல.
ஓ, ஓகே.
In the house, so no disturbance.
That is true. That is one more way of saying it.
Balakrishnan, Lakshmi avalkalla anupiruken. I think they may also view if they are.
That is nice, because this is not the only one. We will be doing multiple sessions of this, Mama. So that is one of the good parts of this. So
good evening, Lakshmi Adhikar, Balakrishnan.
Fantastic.
Oh,
namaskaram. Okay,
namaskaram.
Vignesh, we are not able to see you, Kanama. Okay,
namaskaram.
Good. So do you want to kick it off? I think it is important that everyone is there.
Yeah, I would like to kick it off.
Hi, Vignesh.
Hello.
How are you?
Namaskaram.
Oh,
I'm very fine, Mama.
You have done a wonderful job, huh?
Thank you very much, Mama.
Sitting in Bombay, you have gone back to maybe 2000.
Okay.
Thank you, Mama.
Okay, chalo.
Ellam ungaloda aashirvadam, Mama.
No, God's blessing.
Okay, Vignesh, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you all for gathering here. It's a wonderful occasion. We are actually launching our books both in Tamil and in English. So thank you for actually joining us on this wonderful occasion. And it's a very important day for us, and you guys have joined us in this celebration. So once again, thank you very much. This event basically is, we are going to explain to you some details about what we have covered in the books, all the way from the architecture to the genealogy of the dynasty. We want to share more about what and who the Pallavas were and what was their contribution to Indian culture. So I hope you guys learn from, and I hope you actually enjoy our presentation.
Okay.
So
Vignesh,
thank you very much.
Did you say Sai Mama will kick it off?
And now I hand it over to Sami Mama, our very generous patron. Thank you, Sami Mama, for your Ashirvadam. I hand over the mic to you.
Thank you, Vignesh. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarubani Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavadime Sada Jnanananda Mayandevam Dhanbalam Sabriga Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Hayagriva Nama. About this, what should I say? Novel effort by my dear Sriram and little boy Vignesh is something which I never imagined, because basically Sriram has been out and out a management and a finance man, and Vignesh has been a budding lawyer. But how they selected this, what should I say, Pallava dynasty's historical contribution and how they developed, and their capital in those days was Kanchipuram. So they have traveled all those places, collected in a lot of information, inputs, and Sriram spent about 3 months last year, during October, I believe, and meeting people and all that. So it is a tremendous effort for both of them.
நீங்க வரல ஜூம் மீட் மேல போட்டுருக்கேன், நீங்க வேணா வாங்க லேப்டாப்ல.
You don't mind anybody else who is talking, please unmute.
Ably assisted by Rukmini, Abhirami, Sripriya, and the entire team. So kudos to everyone, led by Sriram and assisted by Vignesh. Thank you.
Vignesh, over to you.
Thank you, Swaminathan Mama. That was actually great praise from you, and I do not know whether we actually deserve so much, but it's actually great that you blessed us, and it's a great initiation to this event. Now, actually, I would like to hand over the mic to Rukmini Mami. And Rukmini Mami here is a multifaceted personality with us, you know. She's a multi-talented person who has, we were actually immersed in the books. I was like, you know, researching the books when I was writing. But over here, Mami has, she has experience on the spot. She you know, communicated, she visited all these places, amazing stamina. So Rukmini, Ma'am Rukmini, would you want to share something with us about your visits?
Great translator.
Namaskaram Ganesh, thank you. எல்லாருக்கும் ரொம்ப தேங்க்ஸ். எல்லாருக்கும் என்னோட நமஸ்காரங்கள். அல்லவா இத பத்தி படிக்கிறதும் கேக்குறதும் எல்லாமே ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருந்தது எல்லாருக்கும். எல்லாம் கிளியரா இருக்கா? கேக்குறதா?
கேக்குறது.
Very much.
நாங்க முதல்ல எல்லாத்தையும் பர்சனலா விசிட் பண்ணிட்டு அப்புறம் அந்த புக்கை பத்தி எழுதி எல்லாம் பண்ணினோம். என்ஜாய் பண்ணினோம். நிஜமா சொல்றதை விட நாங்க என்ஜாய் பண்ணதை நீங்களும் என்ஜாய் பண்ணணும், நீங்க எல்லாரும் பார்க்கணும், அதை பத்தி தெரிஞ்சுக்கணுங்கிற ஒரே ஆசையில தான் இதை பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சோம். எப்படி அந்த பல்லவா எங்கெல்லாம் போய் எப்படி எல்லாம் இதெல்லாம் கட்டியிருக்காங்க. முதல்ல மகாபலிபுரத்துல போய் பார்க்கலாம்னு சொல்லிதான் அந்த மாமல்லபுரம்ங்கிற இடத்துல போய் பார்த்தோம். அங்க போனாதான் அதை பத்தி அந்த பல்லவாளோட அவ்வளவு பெரிய ஒரு அவளோட பத்தி எல்லாம் தெரிஞ்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் இன்னும் எல்லாமே கண்டுபிடிக்கணும்னு தேடிட்டு போனோம். அவ இன்னும் என்னெல்லாம் பண்ணிருக்காங்க பார்த்தா கிருஷ்ணா ரிவர் ஆந்திரால ஆரம்பிச்சு கன்னியாகுமரி, பெங்கால், பே ஆஃப் பெங்கால் வரைக்கும் அவ அந்த நதி தீரங்கள்ல நிறைய கட்டடம் கட்டியிருக்கா. அது எத்தனை என்ன, எப்படி பாறையை குடைஞ்சா, எப்படி அந்த இடத்துல வேலை செஞ்சா, அந்த காலத்துல என்ன சத்தியங்கள் இருந்தது எதுவுமே தெரியல. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஒரு பில்டிங்கையும் ஒரு கட்டடங்களையும் ஒரு சிற்பங்களையும் பார்க்கும்போது பிரமிச்சு போயிட்டோம். அதை பத்தி எல்லாம் தான் உங்களுக்கு சொல்லணுங்கிறதுக்காக ஆரம்பிச்சிருக்கோம். நீங்க எல்லாம் ரசிச்சு இந்த புக்கை படிச்சு எங்களுக்கு அது எவ்வளவு நன்னா வந்திருக்குங்கிறத சொல்லுவேன்னு நம்புறோம். தேங்க்யூ வெரி மச்.
Thank you.
Vignesh, over to you.
Wonderful research, மாமி. நிறைய விசிட் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க, நீங்க எக்ஸ்பீரியன்சஸ் எல்லாம் ஷேர் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க. I really hope the readers also share your enthusiasm which you felt when you were visiting all these wonderful monuments that our Pallava ancestors built for us. It was built in stone for us. I hope as much as you and everyone appreciated it, I hope the readers also appreciate. Thank you very much, Rukmini Mami. Now I would like to introduce our second Tamil writer who has also done a phenomenal job with the book. Shri Priya madam, over to you.
Thank you for making me join this team, Ram, Vignesh and Rukmini ma'am. இந்த ப்ராஜெக்டை பொறுத்தவரை வந்து எஸ்பெஷலி நான் பர்சனலாக போய் பார்த்தேங்கிறது சொன்னாக்கா மேபி இட்ஸ் இன் மை சைல்ட்ஹுட் அண்ட் தோஸ் டேஸ் அப்போ தான் போய் பார்த்தது. பட் இங்கே இந்த ப்ராஜெக்ட் நினைஞ்சிருக்கோம் த்ரூ தேர் ஸ்பெக்டிகல்ஸ் ஐ என்ஜாய்டு எவ்ரி பீஸ் ஆஃப் இட். ஏன்னா ஒவ்வொரு ஆர்டிக்கிளும் டிரான்ஸ்லேட் பண்ணி அதை வந்து திருப்பி நம்ம ஒரு தடவை ரிவ்யூ பார்க்கும்போது we could visualize what they all saw. And ஒவ்வொரு பிக்சர்ஸ் ராம்ஸ் கொடுத்துருக்கிறது, அந்த சப்போர்ட்டிங் பிக்சர்ஸ், அது வந்து நீங்க வீடியோ பார்க்குற மாதிரி இருக்கும். அந்த படிச்சுட்டு அந்த பிக்சர்ஸை பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நீங்க நேர்ல பார்க்கறத விட வேற க்ளோஸ்அப்ல வீடியோல பார்க்குற மாதிரி இருக்கும். அந்த லெவலுக்கு ரொம்ப அழகா பிக்சர்ஸும் கொடுத்துருக்கார். அண்ட் அந்த டீட்டெயில்ஸ், ஒவ்வொரு டீட்டெயில்ஸும் ராமன் விக்னேஷ் நீங்க இங்கிலீஷ்ல கொடுத்துருக்கிறது இங்க எங்களுக்கு மொழிபெயர்க்கிறதுக்கு சிலது ரொம்ப ஈஸியா இருக்கிற மாதிரி இருக்கிறது பாக்குறதுக்கு. அதே சமயத்துல ப்ராப்பரா இருக்கணும், அதே சமயத்துல இலக்கண தமிழ்ல இருக்கக்கூடாது அப்படின்னு பண்ணும்போது தோ வி ஹேட் அ லிட்டில் என்ன சொல்றது, கொஞ்சம் ஹோம்ஒர்க் நிறைய இருந்தாலும் கூட வி ரியலி என்ஜாய்ட் இட் லைக் எனிதிங். ஒவ்வொரு தடவையும் அதை படிக்கும்போது எங்களுக்கு ஜாலியா இருந்தது, நேர்லயே போய் பாக்குற மாதிரி இருந்தது. அதே மாதிரி எல்லா வியூவர்ஸ்க்கும் இருக்கும்னு நினைக்கிறேன், எல்லா ரீடர்ஸ்க்கும் இருக்கும்னு நினைக்கிறேன்.
ஓகே, உங்களோட
ஸ்கில் ஸ்ரீராம்
இல்ல ஸ்ரீபிரியா, நீங்க அந்த ஒரு கைலாசநாதரை பத்தி ஒரு இது ஏதோ பேச போறேன்னு சொன்னல, ஒரு நகெட், அந்த நகெட்டுக்கு தமிழ்ல என்ன சொல்லுவா, அது என்ன பேரோ? அது
அரிய தகவல்கள். நகெட்டுக்கு தமிழ் ஃபார்மேஷன் அரிய தகவல்கள்.
Okay, so you talk about it. Yes.
See, அந்த கைலாசநாதர் கோவில்ங்கிறது வந்து ரொம்ப ரொம்ப அழகா ஒவ்வொரு நுணுக்கமான சிற்பங்கள் அதெல்லாம் வந்து நம்மள இன்ஸ்பயர் பண்றதை விட ரொம்ப நல்லா இன்ஸ்பயர் பண்ணது ராஜராஜ சோழனை ரொம்ப நல்லா இன்ஸ்பயர் பண்ணிருக்கு. இன்னைக்கு 1000 ஆண்டுகளாக ஒரு கோவில் தஞ்சாவூர்ல பிரம்மாண்டமா நின்னுட்டு இருக்கு, பெரிய கோவில்ங்கிற பேர்லன்னா அது வந்து கைலாசநாதர் கோவிலை பார்த்து ராஜராஜ சோழன் இன்ஸ்பயர் ஆனதுனால நமக்கு கிடைச்சதுதான். இன்ஃபேக்ட் அங்க அவருக்கு யூஸ் பண்ணிருக்கிற என்ஜினியரிங் எல்லாமே இதை பார்த்து அவர் தன்னோட பீப்புளை வச்சுட்டு டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணினதுதான். ஒரு நிழல் கீழே விழாதைக்கு அண்ட் ஒவ்வொரு தளங்களும் எப்படி இருக்கணுங்கிறது எல்லாமே வந்து இந்த கைலாசநாதர் கோவில் தான் அதுக்கு ஒரு பேஸ் ஐடியா கொடுக்கறதுக்கு ஹெல்ப்ஃபுல்லா இருந்திருக்கு. அண்ட் அந்த கைலாசநாதர் கோவில் இன்னொரு முக்கியமான விஷயம் என்னன்னா, எல்லாரும் கோவில்னா என்ன நினைச்சிட்டு இருப்பா, ஜஸ்ட் ஒரு அழகான மதில்கள் இருக்கும், அழகான பிரகாரங்கள் இருக்கும், கோபுரங்கள், அழகான சிற்பங்கள் இருக்கும், இவ்வளவுதான் தெரியும். ஆனா அந்த கைலாசநாதர் கோவில்ல ஒரு 63 தியான கூடங்கள்னு சொல்லலாமா, இல்ல வந்து அது எப்படி அவ்வளவு அழகா வந்து ஒரு 63 அமைப்புகள் கொடுத்துருக்கா அவ தியானம் பண்றதுக்காகவே. அங்க நிறைய ஜைனர்களுக்கு வந்து தியானம் பண்ணியிருப்பா அதுக்காகவே. அண்ட் ஒவ்வொன்றும் வந்து அவ்வளவு அமைதியான இடமா இருக்கும் அப்படிங்கறதுனால அவளுக்கு அது ஒரு ரொம்ப பிரமிப்பாகவும் அண்ட் அதே சமயத்துல அந்த டிவைன் ஃபீலிங்கும் சேர்ந்து கிடைச்சதுனால ஒரு தனி முக்கியத்துவமே கிடைச்சது அந்த கோவிலுக்கு.
Vignesh, what is your nugget?
Wonderful information, Mami. Well, I'll continue from where Mami left off. Now, as she mentioned that the Kailasanatha temple, she mentioned grand details about the Kailasanatha temple and how it influenced another visionary king, that is Rajaraja Chola. I'd like to speak something about the builder of Kailasanatha temple, as in his name is King Rajasimha, and he was one of the most visionary kings which South India has seen. And I would say his reign of, he ruled for 29 years, nearly 30 years of peace, prosperity. The land flourished under his rule. You can see the amazing contribution that he has given to Pallava architecture is just amazing. But, not everything is meant to last. So it seems after King Rajasimha passed away, now the Pallavas, they may have been, quite great kings in civilian matters and in administration. But when it came to warfare also, they had their fair share of troubles. As in, if you go beyond the Pallava kingdom, over the Tungabhadra river, the Chalukyas of Vatapi, now these were also very warlike kings. They had an empire at their disposal. And they had quite a lot of history also with the Pallavas, mostly antagonistic. Exactly.
Book launch
So when Rajasimha passed away, it didn't exactly destabilize the Pallava kingdom, but it gave the Chalukyas an opportunity to invade the kingdom, because King Parmeshwara Varman, he was a very young king when he ascended the throne. He is the son of King Rajasimha, and when he ascended the throne, he actually found himself facing a Chalukya emperor named King Vijayaditya. But King Vijayaditya was pretty peaceful. But when it came to his son, Vikramaditya II, now that's a prince who was hell-bent on taking revenge. And yes, this is a revenge story. You'll read why this revenge story built up between the Pallavas and the Chalukyas in our book. So I'll keep that for the suspense. But let's just say that when King Vikramaditya invaded Kanchipuram with his forces, King Parmeshwara was not in a position to defend it. And unfortunately, he did have to surrender. So, and he had to buy peace on very, very expensive terms. So when this happened, it was kind of it was an insult. It was an affront to his authority. So King Parmeshwara didn't rest easy after the defeat. Like when Vikramaditya and his forces returned, our Pallava protagonist here sought about plotting as to how he would invade the Chalukya kingdom and exact his revenge. So when he led his forces into Chalukya territory, it's pretty unfortunate he wasn't very lucky, because instead of victory, he not only met defeat, but King Vikramaditya's forces crushed the Pallava forces, and our protagonist ended up losing his life. So when Parmeshwara fell, now it is said that after Parmeshwara's death, he did not have any legitimate heirs from the main line. As in, the Pallava main line was in charge of Kanchipuram and Tondaimandalam, which is in South India. So when Parmeshwara Varman was felled in battle, the Pallava kingdom faced probably, yes, in its history, it probably faced its greatest crisis in the form of the main line going extinct. Now, there is King Vikramaditya also didn't rest easy after his defeat, because now he had a Pallava kingdom which was not only weak, but it was also headless. So he sought about, putting his own puppet emperor in place. so that the Pallavas wouldn't remain an independent kingdom. They would merely become a protectorate of the Chalukya kingdom. Basically, it would be something dependent on the Chalukya kingdom, and hence even the rivalry would be over. If because of this, the Chalukyas would flourish, well, Vikramaditya would definitely take the move. And hence, Chitramaya, an usurper to the throne, enters the scene. He had the backing of the Chalukya king. And once he was introduced, it seems the people were not very happy. So, and what I'm about to tell you is very much of an earlier democratic move. Like if you think that the Pallavas were only, all about monarchy, well, it's not exactly all about that. Because after the usurper ascended the throne of Kanchipuram, he didn't have the people's support. And there was a congregation of influential merchants and the elite nobles of the Pallava kingdom, where they actually met and they sought to discuss the future of the Pallava kingdom. Now, what is interesting is Kanchipuram is a seat of ancient learning. So these people didn't just, shoot arrows in thin air. They had the backing of an institution called the Ghatika, which is it's a body of learned scholars who know about politics, who know about religion, who know about ethics. So when they sought the advice of the Ghatika, these people are also the keepers of knowledge of Kanchipuram. So on the advice of the Ghatika, a ministerial delegation was sent all across the Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean, all the way to Kambuja Desa. Now, Kambuja Desa is, in modern times, it's parts of southern Cambodia and northern Vietnam. So yes, we are actually talking about people who are so unhappy with their king and with invaders that they decided to cross the whole sea. Like they decided to weather monsoon storms. They decided to cross oceans just so that, surprisingly, yes, you see, the main line may have gone extinct with Parmeshwara's demise. But you see, Simha Vishnu's brother had crossed the seas nearly 3 centuries ago, all the way to Cambodia, yes, modern day Cambodia in those days. And he sought to establish his own independent kingdom. It was influenced by the Pallava beliefs. But while these two kingdoms had friendly relations, I'm not talking about a colony. I'm talking about a solid independent kingdom which was not answerable to the main line. So when the ministerial delegation reaches this place in Kambuja Desa, they were welcomed warmly and they met King Hiranyavarman. And legend has it that King Hiranyavarman had 4 sons. And while these 4 sons were illustrious in their own ways, when the ministerial delegation from Kanchi asked them the question as to whether they were ready to take on the throne of Kanchipuram, the first 3 declined. But fortunately for our Pallava protagonists, the 4th one, yes, he was merely 14 years old. Some records say only 12. And his name is Nandivarman Pallavamala. Now, the reason he's called it is because, again, this is also suspense as to why he achieved this title. But
you should not give the whole suspense away. They should read
exactly.
your book. Okay.
But
so do we want to talk about what he contributed, Vignesh, in that 60 years?
Yes. Now, once Pallavamala came and ascended the throne of Kanchipuram, he was pretty swift in, getting rid of his rivals. And when he established the kingdom, now he sought about consolidating his rule. Now, due to his nature as a foreigner in a land which he has never been to, this guy paid the most ambitious tribute to his ancestors from the main line, where Rajasimha probably, built his grand structures for, expanding his own image. Nandivarman's motives may have been different, but he was no less. Now, this king ruled for quite a long time, over 6 decades. 6 decades of near stable rule. And the structures, as in one of them, I would say, is the Vaikunta Perumal temple. What is special about Nandivarman is where his earlier, his ancestors were Shaivites and some were even Jaina, as in Mahendravarman is a Jain king who turned into a Shiva Bhakta. Nandivarman was a Vaishnava. So hence he built this grand temple, which was greatly inspired from its Kailasanadar, neighbor. While Kailasanadar is in the north of Kanchi, at that time, Vaikunta Perumal temple was built on the outskirts of Kanchi. Now, Kanchipuram has expanded. So, there are numerous buildings around the temple. But Vaikunta Perumal, what makes Vaikunta Perumal special is there are, you can't exactly call it a temple with one Garbhagriha. It has three Garbhagrihas. And this is not the type of Trikutam temples as we see. You see, the Garbhagrihas are on 3 different stories. And all of them depict Lord Vishnu in 3 different poses. One is the very famous Anantashayana Vishnu. And 2 other poses, as in a standing and a sitting one. Now, what makes these images of Vishnu so special is they say that the axis of Vishnu's postures are directly aligned to the ground. What I'm talking about is Nandivarman did not only make sure that his image of Lord Vishnu is splendid. I'm talking about geometric patterns combined with yogic postures, which are pretty inspirational. And while he contributed so much towards the imagery of Vaikunta Perumal, Vaikunta Perumal also is known for being built with 2 different kinds of stones. One is the dark granite, which is orangish in color, and one is the creamish granite. Now, what is special about the creamish granite stones of the Vaikunta Perumal is these stones are not locally found in Kanchipuram. And Kanchipuram, this king was, it's so amazing that this king, he is dealing with his rivals. He's dealing with a powerful emperor like Vikramaditya. He is dealing with, even though he was chosen to be king, he still needs to project an image of being someone familiar. As in he's the Pallava sign. He's the Pallava king. So what is amazing about Vaikunta Perumal is, I do not know whether he concocted this legend on his own or whether it was the people who did it. But apparently there's a legend that there was a king of Kanchipuram who was childless. So what he did was he went to the Kailasanadar temple, mind you, the Kailasanadar temple, and he prayed to Lord Shiva for a child. And Lord Shiva was very pleased with his very, rigorous tapasya. And when he presented himself to him, the king desperately prayed for a child. And Lord Shiva was so pleased that he said that you will not only get a child, but you will get a child whose illustrious lineage will be spoken about for generations, for millennia to come. The king was so happy, but Lord Shiva also adds one more thing. This child will be personally blessed by Lord Vishnu. So you see, this legend is so amazing that it kind of balances Shaivism and Vaishnavism in one legend. Now, it doesn't end over here. What is said is that, yes, question?
Don't read the whole book. Keep it.
Of course.
Let people read it. Yes.
Of course. So, so basically, as you go with the legends, it's a great move. It's a political masterstroke, a religious masterstroke, an administrative masterstroke, which I would really like to share. But yeah, actually, it's right. You guys need to read about it to know on your own. So
because we cannot stop about telling that.
Of course, exactly. It's so exciting. I just got carried away again.
Okay. Okay. I think at this point, so one of the patrons, one of the persons who really helped us through the entire journey is Ganesh, who basically was also guiding the pieces that we were doing and also provided more inputs. In fact, when I was writing this, he said, Ram, you must look at Shivagami Shabadam and Parthiva Kanavu. So I started reading. I went to archive.org and this. And in the group that we have today, one other very dear friend, and he was my boss in Patni Computers, and Raghu. Raghu, you had some questions.
Yeah. Hi. This is Raghu here. You want me to ask them now, or
yeah, absolutely. This is an interactive forum. Absolutely interactive. So yeah, maybe you should switch on your video and join as well. We would love to see you.
Sure. Let me do that. Okay. I have put the video on. Can folks see me?
Yes, we can see you and hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm no expert on any of this, but from childhood, my father used to be fascinated by temples, and I have visited all the temples in South India as part of our annual pilgrimage tour, as we would call them. And I've seen all the temples of Kanchipuram where he spent most of his school and college years. So that's how I got interested. And then I got interested in reading about Ponniyin Selvan and all the other books. So what interests me is, I think Pallavas as a dynasty were probably one of the first who actually left a huge legacy in South India, and then subsequently Cholas, Pandavas, added their own contributions. And today, perhaps Cholas as a dynasty are much more visible because of, Brihadishwara temple and many other contributions. Also, Rajarajeshwara is, probably has international acclaim. But in the research for the book, Ram, what I wanted to know was, were you able to also look at the maybe any differences in the styles, contributions of, say, architecture to begin with as a starting point between Pallavas and Cholas, who built their own temples later on, as also, say, contributions in other fields? I think Mahendra Varman, for example, was a great patron of music and has written many Sanskrit plays, and also has been a sculptor and so on. So have you looked at or planning to look at in the next book that you people are planning to come up with in this series, the contributions of Pallavas in terms of those other areas, as well as how they are different, or to what extent they influenced the later dynasties that became famous, such as Cholas and Pandavas. So that has been my interest area. I've not been able to find too much on this subject. So I think this will be an item of great interest if you're planning to work on certain topics for your next book.
So let me take that. What I ended up doing is, we started looking at the Agama Shastras. And when we went into the Agama Shastras, we actually spent about maybe 2 pages of that. And I'm actually taking you to the book part, which basically talks about it. I think it is chapter 9. Yes. So we literally found out, how do you decode a Pallava architecture? So what we ended up doing is, the Vimana structure, there are about 5 layers, 6 layers. So if you look at this, what I'm showing, you literally find the components which are there. So on the layer, was more like a square, and they were geometry. So they were talking it as Adhisthana. Adikku structure was called the Aditala. Adikku second Aditala. And as you see, structures start becoming more complex. The combinations become more. So நம்ம வந்து பிரதட்சணம் வைக்கிற சமயத்துல you will find more Swamigal, which is basically on the outer periphery. And those are all the combinations. And adikaparam, when you come to the Shikara and Vimana, you will find that the Shikara and Vimana are the primary points. Adikku mela vandu there used to be a concept of a Kalasha. But Pallava Kovil kattra samayatla Kalasha was not very formed, but Shikara was more the important ones. So if you look at the structures as you go in, you will find that these become a lot more easier to find out as to how these particular structures were built. So from the part, if you look at the Kailasanada, so Kailasanada lavande Shikara is primarily conical, and almost every temple, in fact, one of the articles which we covered, and maybe we'll put some videos on that, is if you look at the Kovil, they are all like holding your hand up in prayer. That is exactly how the Kailasanatha is done. That is how Shore Temple is done. And that is how you will find Vaikunda Perumal is done. So the structure similarities. And idu vandu, since you spoke about Brigadishwara temples borrowed that. And Rukmini can possibly tell you this because last year when we had the ASI guru called Shiva Raja sir, who literally passed away about a month ago. And we are doing one Shraddhanjali for him on video. We'll possibly put it out on Karaimandalam and then we'll send it out. He's talking about, so he has actually made Rukmini stand up with her hand like this and talk about how the synchronicity works for the way the mandapams are. So that is what is brought out in Kailasanatha. And then it was picked up 3 centuries later by Rajaraja Chola. So that is one. So we have started exploring. And one more thing, you talked about contribution to arts. So literally what I had done is I had just pushed Vignesh a bit. So he actually did a course on understanding the Grantha script. And he did about a 6-week program on understanding and decoding a few of the Pallava Granthas. So they are pre-Sanskrit, but that's a piece of this. Vignesh, you want to talk about that? You did a few portions on that.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. Now, what is special about the Pallavas is that the Grantha which we use today to, express Sanskrit, it's greatly inspired by the Pallava Granthas. Grantha was initially used by the Pallavas. It was started by them. What is amazing about the Pallavas is Grantha actually, it not only has southern influences, but it has northern influences also. Grantha is a very beautiful script, as in highly pervasive, and it was specially developed for the increasing complexity that Sanskrit posed. Now, what happened is the languages in the south, they were pretty great and they received patronage from the Pallavas. But when the Pallavas brought Sanskrit with them, they needed a script which would allow them to express themselves to the indigenous. Hence, the probably one of the most beautiful scripts in India, the Pallava Grantha is born, which is very cursive and seriously sharp, meant for Sanskrit.
Okay.
Any other questions, Raghu?
Actually, I think many more, but I'm not sure how we are doing with time. But
yeah, we're okay for another 10 minutes. We can go on. So if you have any questions, happy to take that.
Yeah, I think the other area that is again of great interest is when you look at Pallavas as a dynasty. I mean, probably they were, from a militarily speaking, maybe not as powerful, at least consistently. I mean, there were certain kings that probably during their reigns did very well, but they also had defeats with many neighboring kingdoms and so on. But if one were to essentially look at their biggest contributions, to not only art, maybe even other areas like religion, there's also been this talk, especially on the net, and articles written about how there was a big movement in Buddhism, Jainism through much of the early part of the first millennium. And, one of the counter movements that actually sort of stopped it or reduced the influence was the building of temples. And the people who did that first, obviously, were the Pallavas. So what is the truth, if any, behind that kind of narrative? Have you been able to find evidence that points to, this being as one of the motivating factors in the construction of temples, during the 6th or 7th century?
So interesting, Raghu, because we covered one chapter in that called The Missing Millennium. So what we did is, we went back to finding, so I went to pick up as much research as possible which was available. I was working with the University of Duke and Cunningham. Cunningham is one of the archaeologists who was trying to find out some archaeology finds in, this was in Nepal, where he basically was trying to find out some artifacts relating to Prakrit as a primary. So if you look at the way the whole particular thing went about, what he did, Lumbini was the place where they were doing some findings. So Lumbini is one place which is supposed to be the birthplace of Buddha. Now, if you read history, I will connect the dots to the question that you asked and come straight to the 7th millennium in exactly a minute. So for Gautam Buddha to be born in Lumbini, the dates which are given is 547 AD, which 547 BC, primarily does not make sense, because when Cunningham, who's the archaeologist with his team in 2013, when they were excavating at Lumbini, they found artifacts which basically was going into the finds was 1682 BC. So if you connect the dots, if 1682 BC was the time that they found some pieces which was relating to Buddha's artifacts, Buddha should have preceded that.
Right.
And if Buddha is supposed to have preceded that, it is then important to find out how is it possible with the known sources of communication and transport, and I wouldn't say technology, that 1st century Vara, Buddhism had spread long, and Jainism, just to basically mention, since you mentioned that, there are 300 plus Jaina temples in Madurai alone.
Okay.
Adula, this particular Digambara that you are seeing is more than 50 feet high. And this goes back to something like 1st century AD. And Tamila Patana, Tiruvalluvar is also supposed to be a Jain.
Yeah.
So Tiruvalluvar's influence, if we are talking, I don't know what dating that Tiruvalluvar goes back to. And maybe Ganesh should step in to help me here. So the connection of the Jains was already very heavy for at least 2600 years. So Buddha is supposed to be 400 BC and Mahavir is supposed to be 573, but that is not possible, because if Lumbinila, they found some artifacts going back to 1682 BC, and that related to Buddha, we are challenging the dates where history from the West was providing those dates. So we have actually dedicated, and we have been very audacious with responsibility, trying to give you links to the archaeology papers which was published in 2013. And Jainism was already prevalent. And the beauty is, like Vignesh said, when Nandivarman came back from Cambodia, while he was building his temples, Kailasanadar, and Rukmini and I, along with 2 ASI people, last year when we went to one of the Jaina temples, which is in Mahabalipuram. And the ASI markings on the saying that there are 63 Jaina meditation chambers that Sri Priya was talking about in Kailasanadar was supposed to have been used by the Jaina monks during that time. So that is a type of lineage and link that we could connect. So to put in perspective, we went into the Grantha script. I went back to check about 43 plates which are available from archaeology. And I went into something like 17 or 18 books that we connected. So our volume 2, we are literally doing by each ruler, what is his contribution to history? What is his contribution to music? What is his contribution to arts? And if you remember what Shri Priya was talking about, in Kailasanatha, the temple, one of those, Shri Priya, what is that position of Shiva? Uttra?
Urtava Tandava Murti.
Urtva Tandava Murti. So it is a position where Shiva has his leg literally on his head. And that is one of the Karanas in Bharatnatyam. And the 108 Karanas which are available in Nataraja temple and a couple of other temples which we visited, the depiction of Shiva in that Urtva Tandava Murti means their appreciation of dance, fine arts and music is epitomized in a fact, in literally like in stone. That is the extent of research that took us. We thought in the book, 150 page, 160 page kadikuma. இப்ப இருக்கிற ரிசர்ச் வச்சுட்டு எங்களுக்கு இன்னொரு 350 பேஜ் இருக்கு. So that is the level of details that we connected. Anybody else? Yeah.
Thanks, Ram.
Any other questions?
Yes, Ram. I have a basic question. Uma Shankar here.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I just want to understand what exactly made you to enter into this, because I've been hearing this from last week and whatever I used to work. I mean, I'm amazed by the work. So this is just a tip of an iceberg. So I just want to understand what exactly made you to get into this. Number one. Number two, I'd be more happy to understand, I mean, to know what are the challenges you faced and how did you overcome all those things?
So interesting question. So one part, so 2014, I lost my mother. And that was something which was very difficult for me to relate to. So at that time, what we ended up doing is that I was in Bombay and then Sam Mama had basically called, we had spoken. And I wanted to understand the concept of what does it literally go into doing these. So I looked and I took to understanding death mantras. That was my journey. So when I started looking at death mantras, I went into what is the literal journey of the 13 days. And the details it went into them. That took me an internet is like a black hole. Then it went into agamas. From agamas, it went into temples. From temples, it went into temple architecture. And last year, when Rukmini and I met 3 of the stalwarts from archaeology, Raja sir is something, he's like almost like a guru and standing in front of us. So that was some of the pieces that started. So the journey is not very old. It's hardly 2014, June 22nd. That's the
This is more interesting. Then this is more interesting. So what all the challenges you faced and what made you to continue this?
So I think when I did not get my answers from the death mantras, it took me to Agama Shastras. From Agama Shastras, I went into Patanjali. From Patanjali, I went into... So I read a fantastic book called Biography of Tamil Language. And this is written by an Israeli professor. So biography of a Tamil language, then there should be more for what we should care about us. And then one of my friends in Miami, who Gauri Shankar, whom your brother also knows, is called Nagaswamy Mama, who's basically the retired general manager of the Archaeological Society of India. He was just awarded the Padma Vibhushan last year. So I had the grace to meet him in 2011 and I met his son. So he has been working with the Shankaracharya Periva and he's been blessed with a lot of things that he has been doing. I've been reading a lot of his books. So that is something which took me. And then one thing led to the other. So our advantage now is, this is the type of books I could refer to. And then last year when we were talking, we caught up with Dr. Chitra Madhavan. So interestingly, Dr. Chitra Madhavan, whom you also know, she's a PhD in Pallavas, and she was gracious. Actually, she's doing the proofreading of the English book. So she's going to write the foreword for the book. And we are doing a launch, physical launch in Mahabalipuram Resort on November 8th. And about 300 plus people are there. We have a 20-minute lecture followed by the book launch in Tamil and English. You'll be able to meet Rukmini, Sri Priya, Vignesh, whoever is going to be traveling there. And we are doing a 20-minute tourism along with that to the Mahabalipuram Resort. So that is the journey. So Mama, you had some questions? Challenges. The advantage was evlo padikiramo poradu. So think about this 17 books. This is about close to 4,700 pages.
Mind-boggling.
And idhilende we went in to see the... So in Tamil Nadu alone, I met two people last year. One was Dr. Kalyan Raman, whom again Rukmini has had a chance to interview him, and she's been a part of the journey. We are doing a 23 episode on iconography and how do you depict stars. So Tamil Nadu matram, there are 47,000 temples which are more than 1,000 years old. So if we think Madurai Meenakshi was basically one of the icons, it is important for you to know that Madurai Meenakshi temple, 1312 to 1378, it was a Muslim caliphate. So that is the level of influence and the expeditions that our guys have been able to thwart away and then still hold on to the tradition. So that is because Hinduism has been around. So another person whom I want to introduce at this point is our social handle circle, Kriti. Kriti, do you want to come on camera? I have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Good. So you have been helping Vignesh for managing the whole particular social media, which is, I think you did some, you launched us on, what are the things that you launched us on? Instagram
and Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Yeah.
Facebook. So what did you basically do in course of what did you pick up? What did you post?
So essentially, I just took the images and I tried to enhance it because it's, it kind of helps to hold the eye of the viewer. It almost looks unreal. And nowadays, that's the trend. So whatever holds the eye of the viewer more, that's what gets it going. So that's what I did.
Good. So out of the things that you posted, anything particular that basically caught your fancy?
In terms of the pictures, I actually, yes. So the Kailasanathar temple picture, it turned out really good, the angles, and it was really good. After editing, I think it was one of our most liked pictures as well. I think a lot of people like that, as well as the Pancharathas. It's a very nice, it's absolutely stunning, but it's a shame it's incomplete. Yeah, those two.
Thanks, Kriti. Vignesh, over to you. Any other questions that you have?
So anybody else has any questions?
We had a couple of people. Mahesh, I think you had raised your hand.
So Mahesh, would you like to ask a question?
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, so what's your question, Mahesh?
Yeah, Vignesh, I want to ask, what's your favorite architecture?
That's a difficult one because these guys actually built an entire city full of stuff. I would say my favorite architecture would be the Kailasanathar temple because of the sheer detail, the sheer imagery, the iconography. That's visually stunning. As Kriti said, it is one of our most liked pictures, and I also happen to hold a special soft corner for it because my sister Aishwarya Ganesh happened to make the Kailasanathar temple's outer facade as our cover page. So I would say that that particular temple holds a very special place in my heart. So yeah, that's the answer to your question. It's the Kailasanatha temple in Kanchipuram.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Any other? Ganesh, any question that you have? Ganesh, you're on mute if you are.
Hello, everybody. I don't have any questions, but I will say something for a few minutes. Ram said about why he got into this book and how he into that Agama Shastra, this death mantras and all, and what made him or what motivated him to get into this humongous task. What I would say is this is not only a history book, but it also brings out the golden age of our ancestors, the archaeological wonders, what still stands in Mamallapuram or Kanchipuram, or what motivated Rajaraj Cholan to build that 1,000-year-old Pragadishwara temple and all. A simple psychological issue is that whenever we go and visit something which we admire or which appeals to us, it sends some positive feelings or positive vibings to us. Suppose we see a good film, we come out, that full day we are happy because we have seen something good. Similarly, when we go to Ellora or Ajanta or Mamallapuram and even temples, not only devotion, but the temple architecture makes us happy. We come out, at least for a day or two, we are filled with that positive energy. So this archaeological golden age is not only to be preserved, it helps us to be positive. Nowadays, everywhere we see, I don't want to say this, but still gloom and depression around us because of this COVID and other things. And as Ram said, especially in our Hindu religion and especially in South India, we have got so many temples which we can only admire. We cannot even imagine that we can build them again. For example, in Mamallapuram, everything is done by cutting the rock. They have not used cement or steel or anything which modern builders use. This Pancharatha, if I can take permission of Vignesh to tell, today we see Pancharathas or that Aindaratham as separate monuments, but actually they all belong to the same floor because the sand has covered. From the same common floor, they have been carved out with enough space in between. It's something like a building in a flat where the kitchen is there, the living room is there, the bedroom is there, but they're all different. But the basic foundation is same. Such was the imagination and the wonder which made those things. One more thing, these buildings took years and years to build, which means there was no other disturbance. There are no great wars or famine or floods or tsunamis. People were living in peace and there was a lot of prosperity around. So we really feel that can we go back to that golden age? But we cannot go back physically. But when we visit these temples and this architecture, we get some positive vibes. And this book will help us to get that positive energy, definitely. And this book will also make us feel that we have to preserve our heritage. Whenever we go to a temple, big temple in future, we will know that what our ancestors have achieved. At least we should preserve them. If not, we should care for them and we should preserve them if we are not able to make them. Today, again, little bit of politics. Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev has said that so many temples in Tamil Nadu are getting destroyed or they are not cared for. And there are more than 11,000 temples which even don't have the money or resources to have a deep for even one word, what in Tamil they say called is Orkala Puja. And generally today modern generation, including us, we all feel that we are not caring for this and we are in a materialistic world. So this book helps us to understand the greatness of our forefathers and will at least help us in part to know that we should preserve, we should care for our temples, we should take the glorious heritage forward to our future generation. So I think that is the main purpose. If this feeling is inculcated in a few of us, I think the book has actually purpose. Thank you very much.
Thanks. So I think we are almost, we didn't plan to do 1 hour. So one thing which I wanted to go back to is, Swami Mama, if you have any closing comments before we close this event, that will be great.
I am Balakrishnan. So I wanted to ask you one question.
Yes.
What are the different types of archaeology, archaeological concepts, and what are the Agama Sastras you come across, and what way the Kanji Math had helped you in that way? So can I know it? And the great efforts you have done, that is hearty congratulations to all of you, the whole team, and from the finance man to this level, it is very, very great and amazing factor. Can you tell some few words about the archaeological concepts and the Agama Sastras and the Granthas, that is whether it is different types of Granthas are there, or is only one type they written in that Granthas, Pallava dynasty?
Okay.
If you don't mind, can you explain?
You asked 5 questions. I'm going to defer 1 or 2 questions to Vignesh because he's possibly more known with this. So from the Agamas, we covered the primary Agamas of how the temple positions were being built. And we can actually do one full video blog on when you do an Agama, what is the primary things that you identify? So one of the primary things that we figured out is Kovil nama poradhu vandu is not for praying at all. The purpose for which the temples were built from Agamas, because they were all very high energy centers. They were also used as places for social gatherings. They were also used as educational institutions. They were also used for literally spreading the same common message across. So Agamas, there are about 18 different Agamas that you can think about. Adila, we covered only half of it, not even one.
Okay.
So in one of the future series books that we are basically doing, which will cover the Cholas, in Cholas we are covering in Brigadishwara temple, but I can give you one sample of it. So in Brigadishwara, if you look at it, nama Kovil kulla pononna, there is a concept of the energy flow which is always east-west. We normally say never face north and sleep. And there is a specific reason scientifically, because it is driven by the magnetic energy and nothing more. So whenever we get sleep which is disturbed, you should check whether your head is facing the north. Okay. The magnetic field. And the magnetic field is because 78% of our human body is made up of water. And water is magnetic. And that is what causes the high tides and the low tides based on the gravitational pull of the boom. So you will find that, so when you go into the Garbhagriha is normally identified for the point which has got the maximum electrical field and not the east-west facing. So that is the point from where it is. So if you go to Kabalishwara Kovil, and if you remember this about 6 years back, so what they normally do is Garbhagriha pannittu, adukku mela when they do the Shikara, Shikara melende there will be a copper plate which is running. And the copper plate will run and it will be below the Pratishtana Murti.
Wonderful.
These are primary based on science because copper is a great conductor of electricity. And at the Shikara, which is a pointed level to the sky, those are also lightning arresters. Why I mentioned Kabalishwara Kovil is about 7 years back, there was a lightning which struck the temple 2 times, but it did not disturb the main structure or the Garbhagriha. That is primarily one thing which happened. So the lightning arrestor was picked up in Kabalishwara Kovil and they actually have repaired it. So next time when you go, please do check it out.
Sure.
Interesting point that you mentioned about this, Kabalishwara. So Chennai, the Kabalishwara Kovil area was also one of the places where Pallavas ruled.
Okay.
That is one. Innone, if you go to a Naga Kovil, you will find that Naga is a primary element which is worshipped. Nobody gives you the science behind it. Reptile life la, snake is one of the most powerful ones because it is supposed to be the closest to the earth. So you will find Naga as one of the places which is a part of the Agamas. Why is it important, Naga? A snake can basically sense an earthquake which happens 400 kilometers away from where the snake is.
Okay.
That is one of the primary concepts of how the Naga is celebrated. So these are two nuggets from the Agamas you can think about.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I want to close this because almost 1 hour and 6 minutes. So Sam Mama, if you are there, I wanted to see if you can help us with more, anything for the closure. Sam Mama, you're on mute.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
So I just want to once again thank the entire team for bringing out this beautiful book, which will make the readers admire, adore, and appreciate the Pallava dynasty, how they ruled the kingdom and created so many monuments in those days. So look forward to go through the book, which I think will be available in Amazon, and you said in Kindle also. It will be available from tomorrow?
It is. So the English book version in print and Kindle is already available.
Already available, very good.
So Tamil one is being done as a proofread. So in fact, I was just trying to look at Kindle. So this is, so the Kindle publication is available for everyone. So the book version is also available. It went live. So this should be available in India also. And Vignesh, I'm going to take your help to see if we need to do anything for the book. But Kindle version, we recommend strongly. One, we are all in digital India, and color photographs Kindle version is extremely sharp.
Achha.
And the print version, first the print color print check pannom, but the book cost was very, very prohibitive.
Oh.
So we didn't want to make it impossible for people to spend money and get it. So we thought it should be reasonable. So this is my suggestion. I still believe that people like to see the book, read and feel it, but feel whatever is convenient. By 30th of the month, the Tamil version also will be available on Kindle, both in ebook and in hard copy. That is the portions of the books.
How many pages, Ram?
இது மொத்தமா படிக்கிற பேजेस ஒரு 222 பேஜ் இருக்கும். அதுல போட்டோகிராஃப்ஸ் சேர்ந்து இன்னொரு 30 பேஜ் இருக்கு. கொஞ்சம் blank pages ஒன்னு ரெண்டு இருக்கு. சோ நீங்க Kindle போய் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா it will tell you it is 248 pages அப்படினு. பட் அதுல படிக்கிற portion is about 160. ஒரு friend Surya who was there on the last call, he said he bought the book today and he said in about 20 minutes he had finished about 3 chapters. So I'm sure people will go back to reading it, read it at your convenience, but this is one. Rukmini, உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது any words about your Tamil book, and then we go to Sri Priya. நீங்க மியூட்ல இருக்கீங்க.
எனக்கு இதே ஆகல, நிறைய கட் ஆயிடுச்சு.
Okay, இது ஃபுல்லா ரெக்கார்ட் பண்ணிருக்கோம், so we'll put it on YouTube and send it to everybody.
கேக்குறதா?
Yes, சொல்லுங்க.
Wonderful evening. எல்லாரும் ஆசீர்வாதமும் எங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப தேங்க்ஸ். ரொம்ப நன்னா நடக்கணும். எல்லாமே என்னன்னா ஆசாசியா பண்ணிருக்கீங்க நீங்க. அவ்வளவுதான் எனக்கு தெரிஞ்சது.
Sri Priya, any last words உங்களுக்கு?
And I should thank one and all for coming in this Zoom meeting and making us feel happy to express our experiences with you in this project. And, hope we should be very successful than what we imagined.
Vignesh, closing comments, over to you.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. Please continue supporting us. help us get across the message to the larger public by purchasing the books. It's all for you. So please do continue supporting us, and hope you had a great time with us today. And we'll have several more Zoom calls for you guys. So thank you very much.
So
have a good evening.
Can we request everybody to be on video also, so that we can take one screenshot as a group picture? Pooja, Kriti, Uma, Mahesh, Srihari. Fantastic. So what I want to do is thank you all. Have a great evening. And we will again see you all in the next Zoom whenever you get to meet us.
Hello, Sriram.
Thank you very much, people.
Yeah,
Thank you.
more.
Chalungo.
No, I was just thinking, Krishnamani and Tangamani Mani will be blessing you from heaven. They will be.
Swami Mama.
Yeah.
Swami Mama, நான் கணேஷ் பேசுறேன். I'm very happy to see you. It's all your blessings. நீங்க very senior. இங்க இப்போ உங்களை பார்த்ததுல ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு.
எனக்கு அதேதான்.
ரொம்ப thanks.
You are all so affectionate to me. I don't have words to.
No. We are very happy, and Vignesh and myself, Ram, everybody is happy to have your blessings. And as the head of the Krishnamani family, you are blessing us. But thanks.
Sandhya, Aishwarya, எல்லாத்தையும் best wishes சொல்லு.
Thank you.
Okay, God bless everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you one and all.
Thank you.
Good night.